We are joined by Shahzad Chaudhry, a former ambassador from Islamabad. Sir, thank you for your time. Mr. Chaudhry, Pakistan is once again faced with the mammoth task of incorporating refugees from Afghanistan. How grave is the threat of anti-Pakistan elements infiltrating into the country under the garb of refugees and creating a law in order threat for Pakistan?
Yes, you have a point there. I think there is a point of concern for Pakistan in terms of refugees, in terms of terrorists or the maleficent intended people making their way as refugees in Pakistan. But luckily, the refugee system that we have created in the sense of giving them cards, or they must have a valid Afghan identity in terms of the passport, and then a valid visa on it for entering Pakistan. That means that the Pakistani embassy in Kabul has had a good look at them before giving them the visa. These two steps at least ensure that those intending harm for Pakistan perhaps may not be able to find entry into Pakistan that easily. Having said that, we also must keep in mind that since the entry and exit points are now fully controlled, and we have a few of those along the border which are now manned by biodata verification. We have trained manpower there for entry and exit control. We have fenced the border along with Afghanistan with a much greater length of almost about 98% of it now. So that really leaves very little option for the people who always intended harm for Pakistan to find an easy entry into Pakistan in the garb of refugees. So while the threat is there, and there will always be some element of it that might just seep through still, we need to keep our guards up. But we are far more better placed than what we were, let's say, about 20 years back when this deluge of refugees began entering Pakistan or made their way into Pakistan.
Right. Mr. Chaudhry, Pakistan dismissed the U.S. mantra of do more regarding Afghanistan and refused to become a partner in Pentagon's over-the-horizon capability. How do you think it will impact Islamabad's ties with Washington in the long term?
Well, I don't think one particular fact or one particular element of a relationship establishes the totality of the relationship. Yes, I don't think Pakistan has ever said no to Pentagon. The Pakistani military and the U.S. military has had a long-lasting relationship and a very vibrant relationship over the last about 6 decades or so. And so, therefore, what we might call the apprehension of worsening ties may actually never not come about. What determines the relationship between any two nations is based upon immediate interests. Some of them vital, some of them important, and some of them for that moment, which are required to be pursued. So, in that sense, because the Taliban-ruled Afghanistan is contiguous to Pakistan, has a much greater reliance, has always had a great reliance on Pakistan. So when you look at these two factors, you realize that Pakistan is never irrelevant to any nation which may have interest in Afghanistan. So in that sense, the U.S. will find a lot to depend on as far as Pakistan is concerned. So regardless of whether it's Pentagon or the State Department, the government of the United States will have a continuing relationship. Yes, it can see its ups and downs, but more or less it shall be a relationship that is necessitated by times and by the need of ensuring that the two work together in terms of maintaining stability in Afghanistan and ensuring that the kind of elements that you mentioned in your first question, the maleficent ones, for example, intending malice will not find footing in Afghanistan.
Right. Mr. Chaudhry, Pakistan has repeatedly said it has no favorites in Afghanistan, nor will it support a government created as a result of military takeover of Afghanistan. With the Taliban now saying there is no time for an election, how do you believe Pakistan should approach this situation?
I think it's for the Afghans to decide what kind of elections they want. I mean, elections, the Westminster model, for example, or the American democratic model, or for that matter, so many other models that you might find of democracy around the world. may not apply as a formula in Afghanistan. It is for the Afghan people. They have what is called a Loy Jirga, which is actually the lower house of the parliament, and that parliament will get together. The Loy Jirga will get together at some time and endorse the decisions that are placed before it by the Shura Council of the Taliban, because I believe that is the kind of a structure or organization that they want to retain in Afghanistan for governing Afghanistan. It's probably more or less similar to how they manage in terms of structures, not in terms of policies, but in terms of structures, Afghanistan from 96 to 2001. So if that be so, there will be the voice of the people reflected by the Loy Jirga. And so if that is what is coming through, that may not exactly be in the way and in the manner that the American model works, or the British model works, or the French model works, or any other democratic model that exists in the world. But yes, it will be a unique model of its own that will perhaps be put in place in Afghanistan. So we really, in Pakistan, sitting in Pakistan, we can't decide whether the model that has been that is in use in Afghanistan actually compares or is exactly or mimics what is the Western sense of democracy. Democracy more means participatory decision making, and that is what must come through in Islam through a shura or through a shura mediation or interaction. So that's also a consultative process. And then you have a jirga, which is below that, which is like a parliament, which endorses those decisions. So it is actually more or less essentially a democratic model of working.
Right, Shehzad Chaudhry, thank you for speaking to Indus News.